welcome to another episode of the Jamaica Alternative Dispute Resolution Society's Justice Corner. And today we'll be focusing on the Justice with a Cause arm of the show with a very special guest, none other than the Honorary Consul of St. Vincent and The Grenadines, June Barbour. The Honorary Consul, June Barbour, was appointed in this capacity on January 16, 2019, where her duties are mainly to promote economic, educational, and cultural development through trade, sports, and cultural ties between St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Jamaica. Of late, her presence in the media derived from the solicitation of donations for St. Vincent and Grenadines victims affected by the erupting stratovolcano called La Soufrière, translated to mean sulfur mine in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Jamaica ADR Society wishes to support this relief drive for the aforementioned victims in partnership with the Honorary Consul and Food for the Poor in efforts to securing a long-lasting life for these individuals. Help me welcome our Honorary Consul, June Barbour. How are you doing this morning, Consul?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome. And how are your families?
They're all fine because they're living in the green zone.
Awesome. Well, the last article that I saw, I see that the volcano is still erupting.
Yes, it was erupting up to yesterday. And we do not expect it to subside or anything of the sort for a while. Although at the first few days, Friday the 9th until Monday the 12th, there were eruptions without intervals. So people had to stay inside because the ashfall was quite heavy and so on and so forth. Boulders were coming out and all of that.
Wow.
So that period of time was very tense for the people because you're hearing all of the rumblings of the thunder, you're seeing the volcanic lightnings and so on and so forth. So it was a difficult time for them. But I think they are getting to feel, a little bit more comfortable in the space now because, they have experienced it and they're no longer as fearful, I suppose, now as they were at the beginning because the earlier part of the eruption really gave out a lot of ash, it emitted a lot of ash, and people were fearful of the volume and all the other things that were happening, which has never happened in 1979.
So you're saying that this is the worst eruption you guys have ever experienced before?
Well, from my experience, it is the worst because I experienced 1979. I've heard my grandmother, for example, talked about 1902 and so on and so forth. But in 1979, we had a lot of ash, we had plumes, but it was a mixture of ash and other stuff because it came up red into the sky. So you were always seeing like a ball of fire. But in this case, you had actually a heavy ash load going up into the air. And so when the ash load, because it goes miles up into the air, I think one of the plumes went up as far as 51,000 feet. In the early eruption phase, and because it's explosive, it goes miles up and then it comes back. It goes up very hot and it still comes back with a certain level of heat. So what happens when it comes back? It tends to break anything if it's heavy, because the weight of it, depending on how they come in bulk, break the limbs of trees and the fullness of the ash, because it is so thick. Would cover all shrubbery plants and so on the ground. So anything that is above earth would be seriously damaged. So that is what happened in this time. In 1979, it was not so bad because people went and attended to their animals and so on and so forth, and they came back to their shelters and all of that. But now you have animals that are covered in ash, and some of them may not be able to get, more than likely, the farmers would have left them grazing because they do not know when they're coming back. So those who are grazing may not be able to get to the water sources that they're accustomed to drinking. And if they do that, they may be affected. We do not know yet because the ash would go everywhere, rivers, streams, sea, land, everywhere. So it contaminates everything. So you have a difficulty in terms of that because some of the birds actually died. Some farmers have indicated that the animals have suffered. We do not know how many of them so far because still there's no count in terms of damage. It's just part, exactly, it's just part of the country you're able to access to count damage. And there are areas that you can only go so far and you can't get anywhere else because of the boulder falls and all of that. So it's a critical thing now for us because we are the breadbasket, you can say, of the part of the Eastern Caribbean, Trinidad, Barbados. And if we do not have food to send to them, which we did before volcanic eruption, we did for once per week or twice per week, depending on how it is. It's no longer there. But I understand Trinidad said that the food came in this week, but I have a feeling that just before the 9th of April eruption, those produce were already packed in, ready to leave, and they never got to go. So I believe, yes, so I believe that they were packed at the port, never got to leave. So now that they're getting a little clearer, they were able to get out. But I do not think that they came directly from the farms. You see? So but they are still, the root crops are still there. And they would thrive because they're getting some rain and they are likely to be able to reap something from the root crops. But anything above ground has been affected. Vegetables, and the soft vegetables like the green leafy vegetables and the tomatoes and so on, and the cauliflower, the onions. The onions are root crops, so they would say. But the cauliflower, the tomatoes, the thyme, and the lettuce, they would suffer badly. So we have that. So we'd have a shortage of that for a while. But in maybe a year or two, maybe by next year, you'd be surprised to see the size of the produce because of the ashfall. So there is, even though there is darkness now, there's a silver lining there. Yeah, there's a silver lining there. And in addition to that, the government has indicated that it is looking at the possibility of marrying plastic and ash for, yes, they are exploring that now to make building blocks because of the great need for water, because the ashfall has affected our water courses. So they had to get a lot of plastic bottles coming in with water because you couldn't get the bulk. You couldn't get the bulk. So that means that if you don't use those plastics properly, you're going to have a major environmental problem with plastic disposal. So they're looking at that. So it's a time for us where we are, there's a darkness, but we are looking through the darkness and see where we can find the silver lining. And so that's why I tell you, our people, even though we are going through a difficult situation, we are looking at how we can use that difficult situation to build back.
Right. One would think, as a Caribbean nation, I know that, especially in Jamaica, we depend heavily on our natural resources. So I know this may have really hit your nation to say, boy, the agricultural sector, tourism sector, I know you guys have beautiful white sandy beaches and your botanical gardens and all of that. But I mean, for you guys to still be able to see a silver lining and to be innovative, to think of plastic becoming blocks for your homes, that is amazing. That is amazing.
And I will tell you something about the water sources. Because I mentioned it, but I didn't tell you some of the deeper part of it. Because actually, there's a water output from a river that runs from the volcano.
Like a hot spring?
It's not really a hot spring. It comes as a normal river in the past. It has been coming as a normal river. But we used to say when we were growing up that you have to be careful when you cross Rabaka River, because the sun may be extremely hot, it's dry, and all of a sudden you hear noise coming down and it's a big volume of water coming out.
And it's not hot.
And that never used to be hot. But since the volcanic eruption, that river is a steaming river. You can, when the water is going, you can actually see the steam on top of it. So, and the seismologist said that up to 3 miles out at sea, that water will be hot. So you know that has implications for our life in the marine environment.
Yes.
And also in our rivers.
And you guys depended on fishing as well.
Exactly, because that is one of our major income generators. So these are some of the issues we have. So if wherever, and you know the space between the sea and river is critical for the nurturing of fish life. So that is a major problem for us. And as I talked about in terms of the health and well-being, the health and well-being, okay, you would have respiratory problems and so on and so forth. But we also have the issue of people are very fearful because in the first few days, people will be beside themselves because they had to lock up in their houses. Yes, and they had to stay there from Friday at 8:41 in the morning until Monday morning, Monday the 12th. So you know what that can have for children who'd love to go outside, and you know we all as children like to go outside to play. For the older persons who are locked down and they don't know what to do, I'm certain there were people in their homes in the green zone who are living all alone, and they're old people. The village in our country, what we do is that the village will look after the older people. So you go and you find out if they need anything, and you help them do certain. You could not go outside. You could not leave your homes. Some people ventured out, but it can be to their detriment because the ash fall was so high that it looked like you were in a snowstorm.
And it was hot. So how did that affect the infrastructure as well?
Well, wherever it fell, there was damage. For example, there were damaged roofs, the plants were burnt, things like that. And the boulders the boulders came out in the red zone. So a lot of boulders fell into roofs and, not only private homes, but also in government buildings. So you had that issue to deal with. And it's a good thing. The critical thing about this volcano and its eruption is that the government was able to get people out in the nick of time. And we have to give credit to Professor Richie Robertson and the Prime Minister in listening to him, because if they had not done that, we could have had a lot of deaths. So far, there are no recorded deaths. And there's been so much destruction, but no recorded deaths. So that is another good thing for us that we feel, because people would have been in mourning for that. So it may seem negative now, but we believe that there is a positive element in it.
And you can definitely see resilience in the people of St. Vincent. It takes guts to be able to still see the silver lining in a time of great tension and darkness. Now that we have discussed the damages and, contaminated water and, shelters, what exactly are you guys looking for now in terms of donation?
We are looking for a number of things. We're looking for things that can be used for beds. So you can send mattresses. You can send blankets, because there are a lot of children still in the homes, in the shelters. We are looking for non-perishable food. And we are also looking for water, because, as I said, the ash fall itself has created an environment where people are thirsty, but they cannot get water out of their pipes, because that has to be locked off. We also had an issue with electricity, because some of our hydropower stations are in the zone, in the red zone. So we had to lock them; they had to be locked down. So we are looking at pumps. Water pumps, all the pumps that we can get. We are looking also for masks, because persons in that in the shelters, they would need masks, for protect from the dust, because no one anticipated that the dust fall would have been this magnitude. So they're looking for that, and it has been going on now. Today is actually 2 weeks, and it seems like a lifetime. Yes. At the beginning it was like just moving, but the government planned with the people. They organized them so they were able to take them out. Albeit when people are getting out, like in one batch, you would see long lines and so on and so forth, but they were able to get out most of the people safely out of those zones, except those who didn't want to. But most of them, since the heavy ashfall, have asked for assistance to leave. So the others were left behind. Most of them have left. So it is a situation. We have people on the ground in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we also have people in the other islands. For example, Grenada, St. Lucia, Barbados. And St. Kitts and Nevis has said that they would accept 300 people. And, the other islands have been really, really supportive, and we are thankful that we are all our brother's keeper.
Yes.
Because in times like these, we need help. And in times like these, you need support. Because you may get the help, but if the support structure is not there to continue, this is going to be a long ride. It's going to be a long ride. And it's like going up a very steep hill because of what is happening. So we have to, be thankful for our Caribbean neighbors. We are most thankful.
So let's talk more about volunteerism. How can persons in Jamaica who may be interested in giving their time, if they want to fly out to St. Vincent, how do they go about that?
We have not discussed that at all, I must confess. We have not looked at that part of it because we have had mainly people on the ground. The team that's monitoring the volcano came from Trinidad, the Seismic Research Unit of the University of the West Indies, but they also got help from some other people outside of the region.
Okay.
So it's
So you're basically covered
yeah,
in that regard.
in that regard, yes. And we are happy, and we most welcome that the person who is in charge is a national.
Yes.
Yes. Professor Rich Robertson is a national of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Yes,
So we are grateful, and and we are grateful to the governments that have sent support in terms of monitoring.
Right.
Because without that vital support, we would not have been able to really, yes, and also to be able to, for Prof. Robertson to be able to eye something and say, well, okay, this is going to happen now, because he had to be monitoring it and say, well, okay. And if there were no monitors, we would not have been able to be so precise.
That's true.
So he had to get the enabling elements to do that, and we are thankful to the governments that have supported that, and hopefully they would continue to support that, because we do not know what's happening on the ground yet, because some of the equipment at the peak of the mountain were destroyed. And they still would have to get there, but it has to be a time when there would not be any activity. So it takes a little while. But they still have monitoring stations outside of that, outside of that area. So they are able to really give us what we would say blue by blue, if you were to in the Caribbean parlance, blue by blue, information as to what is happening and how we should protect ourselves as a people. So I am really, really happy for that, because he has done a marvelous job. Yes, excellent job to Prof. Robertson. So we are really happy as Vincent and proud to have him help us to face this crisis. Because I always tell people a volcanic eruption, and I used to tell my friends when I was studying here years ago, I said a volcanic eruption is not as easy to cope with as a hurricane. Because at least the hurricane, you know where it's coming, and and so on and so forth. But because I said to one of my friends, I said, Dr. Robertson has the science of volcanoes, because he knows and he can tell you, okay, it's likely to be in the next 48 hours, maybe 4 hours of very precise. Yes, he is. He is very, very precise. So we are thankful for for the gift that he has of doing that. And so we are really, really happy in many ways, but we still know that we are facing a crisis. So we look forward with hope, and we believe that this will be like, yes, this too shall pass, and we as a people will rise above it.
That's right.
And move on.
And we look forward to that.
Yes. So we are really thankful for the support that we're getting out. The world has been very, very supportive.
And that's good. There's still good in the nation. So going back to the donations, is it that persons are free to go with your partners, Food for the Poor?
Yes, they're free to go to Food for the Poor. There are a number of other persons who are having donations from the Jamaican context. But we have chosen to partner with Food for the Poor. And that partnership we were very, very grateful for. Because exactly, their reach is extensive. As a group of Vincentians living in Jamaica, we would not have been able to even start our logistics. So you understand where I'm coming from. It would have been extremely difficult for us to start up that because we'd have to go through a lot of needles that we don't need to. And when they opened up and said, yes, we can accommodate you, I had approached them with trepidation because I said, businesses don't change their lane for anyone. Think about it. Many businesses do not change their lane for anyone, but they saw the need and the importance of this partnership for supplies to get into the country at a rapid rate. As they would say in Jamaica, we have to big up Food for the Poor. Because trust me, they have been working strongly with us, foot by foot. Yeah, they have literally helped us, lift us up, and that they are carrying us. They're not only carrying us here, they are working across the world to bring things to St. Vincent. And we would recommend it, any country that is in a plight. Food for the Poor is always there. Caribbean and the Americas, always there. And I know that the Lord will bless them to go further afield. And so I'm really, really thankful to them because at the end of the day, the need is at home and it must be fulfilled. If it is not, then we can have other disasters. So having that vital link has really removed a lot of the stress because when we heard of the volcanic eruption, a number of us who are in our group, we have a larger group now, but who would be in touch with each other. We all were literally in tears and saying we feel so helpless because we're outside. And then I came together and said to them, I think, and they said, yes, let's try. I said, but I don't know because they're accustomed to doing the business a certain way. But I went and I checked. And it was so good that the executive of the Food for the Poor said, yes, they had, I didn't even have to rush because as soon as I sent in that, request, they were on the ball. And since then, they have been running with us. They have been running with us.
So they created that safe haven from home in the midst of a crisis.
Yes. And therefore, they alleviated a lot of stress in our life. I have to say thank you also to Wasinko. Wasinko was first on the block with 2.5 containers of water. Because we told them that our greatest need was water. We also got good support from Ramen Jamming. They've sent Saturday soup. We got good support from Lifespan. They send at least 105 5 liters, 5 gallons, 105 gallons, and then send I think it's 6 or 5 crates of the 5 liter. So they've sent a lot, So we have got support from smaller supports from other people, but people are coming in, and we are most grateful for all of the support we have gotten. And I must say, as Honorary Consul for St. Vincent and The Grenadines, I've had very good support from Dean Scott, who is in charge of the Jamaica Consular Corps. I know that the Lions Club is working. I know that the Kiwanis Club is working, and there's so many other people who are working to get things together. Really, really great.
So happy. And in terms of numbers, do you know specific numbers, or can you give me a ballpark figure of how many persons are in shelters right now?
Well, we know that at least 7,000 are in shelters in St. Vincent, and the government was very considerate because persons who are disabled and older persons were put in hotels or guest houses.
So for persons who are interested in donating, where are the drop-off points for both locally and internationally?
Well, internationally it would have to be in Miami. Yes, because that's the hub for Food for the Poor. So if they can get their stuff to Food for the Poor in Miami, that would be ideal. The points in Jamaica are Spanish Town at their headquarters. think it's LCP, train line or something like that. Yes, yes, LCP train line. In Kingston, you have St. Peter and Paul, and Ligony. You have Doctors Beck and Knight's office in where there is a big what do you call it now? The BPO in 58 Havertree Road. So you just take the circle around, and they are at the end of the circle on the side of, I think it's General Insurance, but they're above General Insurance. They're in front of the parking lot. They are facing the parking lot, as if when you get around in the circle in that space, and you're heading back down, they're straight ahead of you. So you can't miss that. All right,
so and then just walk into the reception area.
And just ask for Mrs. Bunting, and she would collect them on our behalf. In Mandeville, we are at the collection point. It has the Sacred Heart Cathedral in Montego Bay, and you enter on the side of Mont Alveria High School, Alvernia High School, and the boys' school is Cornwall College. Yes. So in that, you enter through that gate. That's where they're asking you. In Mandeville, we have a pickup point at 66 Caledonia Road, and it is called Bishop's Boyle Outreach Center. So you can find it there. So those are the spots we have right now established. You can donate online with your credit card or with your PayPal account at www.foodforthepoorja.org. Okay, so you can do that. And then there's also a local account. It's account number, and it's an NCB account. It's account number 471043885, and that's, you can make your donations in Jamaican dollars, and that's at the National Commercial Bank, St. Jago branch, the shopping center in Spanish Town, and the branch code is 0047, and you can also do NCB direct banking. So that would be, that the account, I would say it again, it's 471043885, and it's a Jamaica account, Jamaica dollars account, and you can also donate online at www.foodforthepoorjamaica, and Jamaica is JA. Yes, the Jamaica is JA.org, and you can use your PayPal account or you can use your credit card. We want to thank our partners, Food for the Poor, again, and we'd also like to thank those who were first, in terms of first responders to us, Wisinco, Lifespan Water, Brescia, the Bar Association of Jamaica, because they made a valuable contribution to the Council of Corps, and particularly the Dean of the Council of Corps of Jamaica, and Ramin Jamin. And Wisinco was really upfront in Ramin Jamin, and all the others who have made contributions. We'd say thank you again in another time, but we really want to say, and all those who have made small contributions, do not think that your contribution is not valuable to us, but we would reach out to you and say thank you as well. So we look forward to continue our partnership with you. This is going to be a long haul for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The recovery process is going to be very, very long. And we also expect that because of that, the redevelopment and rebuilding process is going to be a little bit further afield. So as we recover, we know that you would still be supporting us, and we want to thank you now for that in advance. And we look forward to a strong relationship. We have a strong bond with Jamaica, and we know that our people will be better off after this, because we are always our brothers' keepers. I would also like to thank the Jamaican media, and I would like to also thank the Jamaica Alternative Dispute Resolution Society. I am very, very grateful for all you have done for us in terms of making the Jamaican public know that there's a need and how they can fulfill that need. I would like to say to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, all is not lost. For everything, some things must go down in order for new energy to rise. We are facing what may be seen to some people death, but death gives rise to new life. So I look forward with you to the new life that we are going to get out of the ashes. And we say, keep hopeful. We are a resilient people, and we know that the development is extremely important for our present as well as our future. So we are going to build back better. Sustainability will be our key. Thank you very much.
And thank you, our viewers, for tuning in to another episode. Please donate what you can. Follow our social media pages on all platforms and share this video so that we can get the word out there and gain as much support as possible. My name is Rojan Allen. Do have yourselves a wonderful rest of the week.